This is Mr. Bush from Frequency Overload. You are listening to Frequency Overload on Rockum Radio with Gino.
Tired of this breathing and tired of this life. You don't know the depth nor the pain of my strife.
How did Frequency Overload form in 2022, and what inspired you to start the band?
Well, Corey Schaefer, our guitar player, and Kevin Daly, our drummer, their sons played travel basketball against each other. And they were standing there, and they were the only two guys with metal shirts on, so they kind of gravitated together and started talking. Hey, I play drums, I play guitar. So Frequency Overload started with those two, just rehearsing and having fun. And then I went on Facebook for Long Island Musicians Wanted because I wanted to get back into it. I had been out of it for a while, but my whole life I was in bands. And so I put this ad out. Listen, I was standing outside L'Amour's waiting to see Megadeth Slayer in 1986. I'm a writer, a singer. Is anybody out there? And they answered. So I went over to his house and they said, hey, listen, we have a couple of songs written. Why don't you take these home and see what you could write to them? And that was it. We were together since then. We realized quite quickly that we needed a bass player. And we did the same little Facebook group, Long Island Musicians Wanted. Hey, this is what we're about. Is there any bass players out there? And then Steve Little showed up.
What does the band name Frequency Overload mean, and how do you choose it?
We were talking about band names, of course, after the four of us were all together.
Okay.
And, we were coming up with what you would expect, typical Sledgehammer, Revival, and all of this stuff, Fossil, And Steve, our bass player, said, well, why don't we stop talking and start jamming? Let's overload these frequencies. And bam. The next thing, he texted us the next day, frequency overload. And we were like, yeah, love it.
How would you describe your musical style, and what set you apart within the heavy metal genre?
Yeah, that is a tough one. We've been called genreless. I think that we have the ability to appeal to everybody, but we don't do it intentionally. We write, and it's us. So we do have a classic metal background, but we also have the hardcore and thrash edge from my end.
Okay.
And then, we also have some fun with it and keep it contemporary as well. Our musical style was described by the girl who wrote our biography as a hardcore tinged reinvention of thrash metal. I didn't even know what the hell she was talking about, but I said, all right, print it.
Nice story. Well, what are your biggest musical influences, and how have they impacted your sound?
I would have to say, for me personally, Pete Steele during the Carnivore days.
Type of negative. Yes, Peter Steele.
Big influence. I wasn't so much into the Type O Negative stuff. It was too slow and too gothy for me. But that Retaliation album, the Carnivore Retaliation, my God. My favorite.
Nice t-shirt.
Yeah. Corey, our guitar player, has a lot of different influences. Of course, he plays guitar, so he loves Pantera. He loves Iron Maiden. He loves those guitar-driven bands. Steve, our bass player, actually has been in a lot of different types of bands, including jazz. He could play some serious jazz stuff. And Kevin, our drummer, brings to the table just a hard rock approach. He hits the drums like John Bonham or something. Bam, 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 bam. There's none of this nice little, trying to tap along. He hits it like it's the end of the world.
Can you tell us about the creation process of your debut album, Fate Anthropic?
Well, we started with the songs that the guys had, and I wrote the lyrics to them. Corey had a lot of the riffs. A few of the songs we wrote on the spot while rehearsing and then just trimmed them up. And what those guys do, they'll say, hey, listen, I got this riff. And then they say, I got that. I got this beat. And they'll just put them together. And sometimes I'll just grab the mic and just make syllables, just blah, 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 just so I can get an idea in my head. And we'll record it. And then I'll go back and write the lyrics. But as far as the album came together, we have actually almost enough material for 2 albums. So we picked some of the songs, and then through Corey's relationship with Joey Z from Life of Agony, because he had recorded previous albums in his band Misery with Joey, we contacted Joey. We decided to have him record and engineer the album.
What is the meaning behind the title, Fate Anthropic?
Oh, that's tricky, isn't it? Well, we know what fate is, right? It's your undeniable destiny. And anthropic, if you look at the definition, is of man. To be philanthropic is to give money. To be a misanthrope is to hate man. But it actually came about, we didn't want to name the album the first track. So you take the first track and make it that everybody does that. It's been done a million times. So fate anthropic is an anagram of the pain factor.
Wow. Thomas, do you have a favorite song on the album and why?
Oof, that's a tough one. That's like trying to choose which of my kids I like the best, you know? I would have to say, now 4 Years Dead is a lot of fun to play. It's a very snarky and, character-driven lyric. But Bipolar Bear I have a lot of love for because I've always been told that, you turn on a dime, you flip on a switch, you have a short fuse, you have a horrible temper, And I try to tell people, no, you're poking the bear. You're the one that brings out the worst to me and then points it back. So when I wrote Bipolar Bear, it was kind of from my own point of view with dealing with people and dealing with anger management. So I would have to say, those two are 2 of my favorites, and I just can't stop loving Bullets enough. Love that one.
Oh, Loving Bullets. All right. How has the album been received since its release in May?
It's been received very well for surprisingly, a lot of people are saying the same things. Oh, it's guitar driven, genreless. It really doesn't fit into any category. And people seem to like it. Even a lot of my friends are straight up in death metal bands, and they still enjoy it. So it's getting well received and well reviewed as well.
Excellent. Is there an interesting story of anecdote behind any of the songs on the album?
Absolutely. There's one ballad, really, which is outside of the purview of the rest of the album, called Killed in the Melody. And our guitar player, Corey, wrote that song a long time ago when his nephew was killed. He wrote that for him. Wow. And the way that Corey writes, he's so structured. It had natural choruses in it. That's just the way Corey is. So I was stumped. I didn't know what I was going to write to it. And then I was having a conversation with my wife one night. And she said, you know what gets me? All those singers from the grunge era, all those guys, those frontmen from the 90s, all dead. They killed themselves, they overdosed, and they were singing their suicide note to us in a song. And instead of listening, we were asking for another encore. And boom, I came up with the lyrics to that. And instead of naming each of the singers who I'm talking about in the song, I just alluded to it in the lyrics. For fans, No Rain While You're in Pain. No Rain was the hit by Blind Melon, and Shannon Coons was the first one to die out of all of those guys. So I kind of worked the lyrics in, so there's like 5 or 6 guys. You have to look for them and pick them out.
Wow, wow. Thomas, what challenges did you face while recording and producing your first album?
That it was for me personally, it was a very tough time.
Mhm.
We were in the process of recording, and we were recording with recording artist Joey Z from Life of Agony, and he's an excellent engineer. He's got a super duper ear. He's got a great way of bringing everything together. And in the midst of this, October 10th of 2023, I lost my brother Brian.
I'm sorry.
He died. November 30th, 2023, my mother passed away. Then 1 week to the day, almost to the hour, we lost my brother Joe. This is Joe's drum set right behind me. We use that now to rehearse. So within 6 weeks, during the recording, I lost 3 members of my family. And, you know, Joey called me up. He said, dude, what do you want to do? You want to shit can this thing for 6 months or what? I said, no, I'm on my way. It was the following, I think it was a 2 weeks later. I said, I'm on my way. And I went out to his home studio to do the vocal tracking. But it was a difficult time. Let me tell you something. You know, I was a little starstruck, a little fanboy, because it's Joey Z from Life of Agony, one of the bands I grew up going to Brooklyn to see, you know. And what a gentleman he is, and what an A-plus guy, you know. He welcomed me into his home. The 2 of us are standing there hugging, crying in his doorway. He's really something else. What a guy. And there's a lot of that emotion and anger. I was very angry about all of this in the album.
What are your thoughts on music streaming services like Spotify and Apple Music? Do you think they are good or bad for musicians?
Well, I think it's a double-edged sword. Back when I started out, we would make cassette tapes and mail them to Canada with a ditto, and mail them to Europe, and mail them to all over the place in the hopes that someone would hear us. And nowadays, through platforms like DistroKid, it's immediately on May 17th. It was out on CD, and yes, it was downloadable, and yes, Skateboard Marketing got us out to the radio stations, but it was in everywhere. Apple Music, Spotify, Deezer, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio. In that way, that side of the sword is great. There's people hearing us. The other side is, you know, you're getting a quarter of a penny. Whereas if somebody bought a T-shirt, you're getting $15 at least to pay, you know, for the $8 T-shirt. You're making $5. It's very difficult now for bands to make any money off their music because of the streaming services.
What can fans expect from a live show by Frequency Overload?
After that, what we typically do is we hit it hard and fast, and we will just one song into the next, take a break when they have to change guitars for tuning. It's very energetic. It's a very powerful show. We leave it all on the stage. We give it to you, and you give it back, and that's the circle, right? So, yeah, we have a very energetic and positive show. People say, oh, I had the album, but I had no idea you were so great live. Oh, my God, you're better live.
What are your plans for the near future? Are you working on a new music, planning a tour? Any Canadian dates?
We don't have any Canadian dates planned. We're trying to play just out of state. We've played dingbats in New Jersey. We've played, you know, in Brooklyn at clubs like Lucky 13. We're trying to build a better fan base and trying to get an interest in maybe taking a couple of weeks off from work and doing a tour, getting an RV. What the hell? Going to live twice? Get an RV, maybe travel up to Canada, hit Connecticut on the way back, Massachusetts, Michigan, stuff like that. We're thinking about it.
Well, Thomas, any last word to your fans in this interview?
Hey, stay metal. Go to the website. All our socials and all of that stuff is linked right through frequencyoverload.com. Look for us, ask for us, and if you ask hard enough, we'll be coming for you.